Once past the entrance, Han looked around at the village. The houses looked like they could fall apart by a stiff breeze. It seemed like this world had some concept of structural engineering, considering they were built using some kind of bricks and the roofs had shingles. He expected the roofs to be created by thatching, but it looked like the technology in this kingdom had progressed. Though the homes and walls looked dilapidated, the villagers looked to be in good spirits. They went about their daily tasks with a smile on their faces, though you could tell that their work had taken a toll on them. Compared to his previous life on Earth, though the work may have been tough at times, average people didn't seem to look as aged as they did. He wondered if this was due to better overall nutrition or the average work was easier with technological improvements. There were some families who looked to be preparing meals in a communal kitchen, likely for a midday meal. Seeing them getting ready to eat made him think about Brittany. Brittany, he thought in his mind. A gentle voice responded to his thought. Master, is there anything you require from me? I was just thinking about you, and how I would like to enjoy steak dinner when I'm ready for my meal. Have the chef think up something with that in mind. I will contact you when I am hungry. Inform the chef that I will need 2 additional meals prepared since Helania and Queen are accompanying me, he informed her. I eagerly wait your command. I will let the chef know about your wishes, Brittany acknowledged respectfully. The ability to speak to whoever he wanted was extremely convenient, especially compared to using a phone. Instead of going through the whole process of selecting an individual, he could now just think of the person and begin talking. With his creations, they would prioritize him over anything they were doing. Han wondered if this is how a CEO or high executive's life was, where everyone under them bent to their will. The difference was probably related to the fact that his creations would do anything with near religious zeal to fulfill his command. There was no doubt about their motives, unlike even a lot of actual religious figures. If you were to ask them to kill themselves, they would probably do it with a smile on their face. As he walked, villagers would often glance at them, trying to figure out who they were. Just looking at his and his creation's outfit would indicate that there was a difference in socio-economical standings. He was sure that his current outfit, the same outfit from Earth, and his creations, the ones he created, looked far superior regarding material and quality. With a wave of his hands, Han could change the entire situation, but he didn't feel like doing this. It was like playing a video game and going into the code to make alterations. What would be fun in doing that? He glanced at one of the older women, who was carrying a large basket on her head. Nothing stood out about her, but her look of determination in the face of everything made him notice her. Coming up to her, Han quietly took the basket off of her head. She looked at him with a look of surprise, wondering who the hell he was. Lady, please allow me to carry this for you. He gently smiled at her, oozing with charm. Looking confused, all she could say was, My lord, there is no need for you to do this. What kind of man would I be if I allowed such a charming lady to carry such a heavy burden? He softly spoke to her. Where are you taking this, so that I may send it to its destination? Han inquired, stopping her from a further protest. I need to take these to my neighbor's house, she told him. Seeing him indicate that he would be following her, the woman continued to walk. Both of her hands would clap together in front of her as she led the way. Looking close at the woman, Han guessed that she was in her mid-30s. She had her hair tied in a single braid that went all the way down to the base of her back. It gently swung back and forth to the rhythm of her steps. Her outfit was a one-piece dress, looking very conservative with how the skirt went down to her ankles, and sleeves that covered her arms. Even though she looked older, Her bottom was very shapely and probably maintained by her continuous working environment. "Why are you..." Looking down, he noticed it was various roots and plants. "Taking plants to your neighbors?" he inquired. Looking back at him, she replied, "I go out of the village to gather various plants for food. The villagers pay me a couple of coppers for my services." "That is rather commendable for a lady such as yourself," he told her, slightly impressed by how hard these people work to survive. Moving her head forward again, she said, "I am no lady, my lord. I am just a simple village woman." "Do you have a husband or family to help you in your endeavors?" he probed. Looking down, she murmured, "My husband was killed by a monster in the forest near here. He would hunt them to gather various parts to trade with a traveling merchant. My family passed away from a sickness that hit this village several years ago. My current task helps to provide food for myself and pay the taxes to the king." Though this sounded like a painful memory, her voice didn't fluctuate much. This was probably due to how difficult her life already was, and thinking about such things wouldn't help. Gathering all these plants for just a few coppers sounded like a very arduous task. His parents were very similar, having to work hard for meager pay compared to his friend's parents, who were often financially well off. Even with all of his powers, he couldn't shake off the memories of his past and how powerless he often felt. The world felt like a playground for only a few, while everyone else was abandoned to squeeze out a living. He remembered having to sleep in his car while he was attending school, because he couldn't afford a place to stay. A friend of his offered him to sleep on the floor for no rent, but his roommates demanded that he pay. Even though these people considered themselves to be pious individuals, they still demanded his money to pay out for a living like a homeless person. Scenarios like these made him question humanity and how they claimed to be altruistic but were self-serving. Reaching their destination, the woman knocked on the door of her neighbor. A fairly nice-looking man and a woman answered the door. They saw who it was, and their face showed a faint look of disgust. It wasn't enough to make it visible, but Han had seen enough people look at him that way to be able to recognize it. "I have returned with the food you have requested," the woman said, trying to sound upbeat. Glancing over at the basket Han was carrying, the woman sneered and said, "You expect us to give you money for those pathetic plants? They look all butchered by your horrendous gathering skills." "Even the last ones we requested were all torn up and low quality," the man chimed in. Looking annoyed, he said, "Even though they look horrible, I will at least give you a piece of copper for the bunch. I don't want other people to accuse me of theft, so this amount should cover it." He went back to his home and came back with a single copper piece. Tossing it at the woman, he accused, "Next time, I expect you to do a better job, or else we won't give you a single copper. I'm sure some people would be grateful and do a better job than you could." The woman bent down and picked up the single copper coin from the ground. She didn't defend herself and instead just took the abuse the couple was giving her. "Thank you for your patronage," she said, and took the basket from Han's hands and presented it to the couple. Receiving the basket, the couple went in and slammed the door on her. Turning towards them, she smiled and said, "My lord, thank you for your assistance. If there's anything I could assist you on, please let me know." "Would you know if this village had an inn?" he asked her, trying not to embarrass her after witnessing everything. "I'm sorry, but our village isn't large enough to have an inn. Most people pass our village on their way to their destination. Even the merchant that comes around will camp outside with his armed guards," she answered apologetically. Seeing his frown, she said, "I hope this isn't presumptuous, but if my lord and my ladies are willing, I offer my home." "We would be honored by your gracious offer," he said to her.